Miracles. It has been repeated over and over again to all human intellects that the proof of a being's divinity is that he can raise the dead, cure maladies, and do many other things of the same kind, except making a fool wise. Mother added later, this is a Mohammedan story, I believe, as it was said that Jesus raised the dead, healed the sick, made the dumb speak, gave sight to the blind. One day, an idiot was brought to him to be made intelligent, and Jesus ran away. Why did you run away? He was asked. I can do everything, he answered, except give intelligence to an idiot. Well, I guarantee that this is not a proof. It proves only one thing, that these masters are in contact with the powers of the vital world, and that with the help of those beings, they can perform these miracles. That's all. If one relies upon that to recognize the superiority of a man, one would make a glaring mistake. If you take the purely material domain, for instance, and if you notice that the purely material laws are altered by something all of a sudden, you ought to say that it was a miracle, because there is a rupture of the determinism of one plane through the intervention of another. But usually we do not call this a miracle. For example, when the human will intervenes and changes something, that seems to you quite natural because you have been accustomed to it from your childhood. You remember, don't you, the example I gave you the other day? A stone falls according to the law of its own determinism. But you wish to interrupt its fall, and you stretch out your hand and catch it. Well, you ought to call this a miracle, but you don't, because you are used to it. But a rat or a dog would perhaps call it a miracle, if they could speak. And note that it is the same for what people call a miracle. They speak of a miracle because they are absolutely ignorant, unaware of the gradations between the will which wants to express itself and the plane on which it expresses itself. When they have a mental or a vital will, the thing seems quite natural to them. But when it is a question of the will of a higher world, the world of the gods, or of a higher entity, which all of a sudden upsets all your little organization, that seems to you a miracle. But it is a miracle simply because you are unable to follow the gradations by which the phenomenon took place. Therefore, the supreme will, that which comes from the very highest region, if you saw it in its logical action, if you were aware of it continually, it would seem to you altogether natural. There is a miracle because you do not give people time to see the procedure by which you do things. You do not show them the stages. Thus, some men have reached higher mental regions and do not need to follow step by step all the gradations of thought. They can jump from one idea to a far distant inference without the intermediary links. It is an experience I have had. When I used to speak with Sri Aurobindo, we never had the need to go through intermediary ideas. He said one thing, and I saw the far-off result. We used to talk always like that. And if a person had happened to be present at our conversation, he would have said, "What are they talking about?" But for us, it was as clear as a continuous sentence. You could call that a mental miracle. It was not a miracle. It was simply that Sri Aurobindo had the vision of the totality of mental phenomena, and hence we had no need to waste a good deal of time in going through all the gradations. For any person capable of following the line, the thing would have been quite natural and logical. For ignorant people, it was a miracle.